Welcome to another explainer, folks. Let's just jump right into it. Today, we're talking about the sheer mathematical power and really the behavioral science behind long-term wealth creation. Using data from Vanguard, Charles Schwab, and top analysts, we're going to break down exactly how real wealth is built over time. To set the stage, there's this really famous quote floating around, usually attributed to Albert Einstein, that says, "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it." And honestly, that perfectly frames why grasping this math is arguably the single most critical step you can take for your financial future. All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to define the eighth wonder, look at a crazy $500 a month scenario, see why starting early is absolutely crucial, teach you the rule of 72, and finally, settle the whole time versus market timing debate.
Okay, part one, the eighth wonder explained.
The foundational tool for building wealth really comes down to a stark contrast. Look, simple interest is, well, simple. It just pays you on your initial cash, your principal. But compound interest, that's where the magic happens. It pays you on your principal, plus all the interest you've already earned. It's literally a snowball rolling down a hill, gathering more and more snow, meaning your money is actually out there making its own money.
Moving right along to part two, the $500 a month scenario.
Let's put some actual numbers to this snowball effect. Say you decide to invest just $500 a month for 30 years. If you consistently invest that at standard historical stock market returns, somewhere around 7 to 10%, you are looking at over $600,000. But if you manage to hit a more aggressive 15% return rate, that exact same $500 a month balloons into a mind-blowing $2.3 million. Now, here's the kicker, the part that absolutely blows my mind. Over those entire 30 years, your actual out-of-pocket cash contribution, it's only $180,000. That means the vast majority of your final wealth, we're talking hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, is purely generated interest. Your money literally did the heavy lifting for you. Which brings us to part three, why starting early wins. So if compounding is this powerful, procrastination is your absolute worst enemy. Vanguard actually did this fantastic research tracking wealth drivers over time. Think about a short 2-year time horizon. 94% of your wealth is just the cash you actively saved. The returns make up barely a fraction. But stretch that timeline to 30 years and the whole dynamic slips upside down. By year 30, roughly half of your total wealth comes entirely from your compound returns. You just have to give the snowball enough time to roll.
All right, part four, the rule of 72.
Now, all this logarithmic math sounds super complex, right? But what if you just want to know, hey, how long is it actually going to take to double my money? Well, you definitely don't need a fancy spreadsheet to figure that out. You just use a handy little mental shortcut called the rule of 72. It is so incredibly simple. You literally just take the number 72, divide it by your expected annual rate of return, and boom, that result is your timeline. It's an absolute game changer for mapping out your financial future on the fly. Think about the butterfly effect of that simple rule. Let's say you invest $100,000 at a 10% return. Well, 72 divided by 10 is 7.2, so your money doubles roughly every 7-ish years. By year 7, you've got $200,000. By year 21, you're at $800,000. And if you just leave it alone until year 49, that initial $100K turns into a staggering $12.8 million. This right here is exactly why starting early will always beat trying to play catch-up later in life. Okay, finally, part 5, time over market timing. I want to alleviate some of the massive anxiety so many of us have about getting our market entry point wrong. Charles Schwab ran this fascinating historical study where they tracked 5 hypothetical investors, each putting $2,000 a year into the market for 20 years. Get this. Ashley Action, who just invested her cash immediately on January 1st every year without overthinking it, accumulated over $170,000. And she nearly matched Peter Perfect, a guy with a magical, impossible crystal ball who bought on the exact lowest day of the market every single year. When you compare the extremes here, the lesson is just screaming at us. Larry Linger stayed entirely in cash, waiting for the so-called perfect time. Because he waited, Larry missed out on over $100,000 in gains. On the flip side, Peter's completely impossible perfect market timing, it only got him an extra $15,000 compared to Ashley, who just invested right away. Heck, even Rosie Rotten, who bought at the absolute worst possible time every year, beat Larry by over $100,000. So the ultimate takeaway from those Schwab researchers is this: procrastination can be way worse than bad timing.
Even terribly timed stock market investments are dramatically better than no stock market investments at all. Mathematical fact: time in the market will beat timing the market every single time.
So, knowing this immense mathematical cost of waiting, what's actually holding you back from letting the eighth wonder of the world work for you right now? If perfect timing is just a total illusion, and we know procrastination literally destroys wealth, what step will you take today? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.